Daf Lamed Beis Amud Beis will begin Lamed Beis Amud Aleph, 11 lines from the bottom. Omar Mar. We learned previously that in a case where a person says to his friend, fill this basket and you can pick figs from my tree, then the recipient, he can't eat it, a full meal from it, without Meiser taking Meiser Demai. Because we're concerned that the person, the owner, the donor over there, perhaps that he took meisers from it. Since it's filling a basket, he knows how much are going to be picked. Perhaps the one who owns the tree took meisers from it already. So the recipient, he is allowed to snack from it. He's allowed to eat it achilas arai. But to make a meal from it in achilas keva, he's not permitted unless he takes meisers from it. But he only takes a meiser demai because it's uncertain if the owner took meisers or not. Now, Rebbe said, "Bamed varmamurim," that is when the owner is an amoritz. Perhaps he took the meisers, perhaps not. But if the owner is a Talmud Chacham, he certainly would have taken the meisers, because the chazaka that a Talmud Chacham is not meitzi dover miyada if it's not mesukin. He certainly wouldn't have released this and given permission to pick it unless he took meisers from it from somewhere else. So therefore, Rebbe says, if the owner is a Talmud Chacham, the recipient can eat it, and he can even make a meal from it. He doesn't have to take meisers from it. He can rely that the Talmud Chacham, he took the meisers from it. Rosh Gamliel says the opposite. He says, "B'med dvarim amurim," where we have a chashash, we're concerned perhaps that the owner took the meisers. That's when he is an amoritz. But if the owner was a Talmud Chacham, he certainly would not have taken the meisers, because it's also to take the meisers, to be mafresh meisers from something, if it's ein min hamukaf, if it's not in close proximity. So to say that the Talmud Chacham would have taken meisers for what the amoritz picks from the tree, that would be shaloi min hamukaf. He'd be taken without close proximity, which would be also, he certainly wouldn't do that. Therefore, where do we say that he's meiser demai asofek? That's when the owner is an amoritz. But if the owner is Talmud Chacham, he has to be meiser vadai. So now the Gemara is analyzing this case now. Omar Mar, b'med dvarim amurim, where do we say that the recipient is meiser demai b'amoritz? When the owner is an amoritz. But if the owner is a Talmud Chacham, then the recipient can eat it. He does not have to take meisers. That's what Rebbe says. Hi amoritz, the kamer le'laman. So we're saying that the owner is an amoritz. So who is he saying this to? Who did he give permission to fill the baskets to? If you're going to tell me that the recipient, that the recipient is also an amoritz, masan demai mitzayas, would he listen to you and take it and take meisers from it, take the mine? He won't, because he, an amoritz, trusts his friend who's an amoritz. And therefore, he'll assume and rely that the owner took meisers from it. The amoritz, they rely on the hechsherim, on the trustworthiness of another amoritz, of somebody who is in the same category as them. Therefore, to say to him, no, don't rely on the fact that the owner, who's an amoritz, took the meisers, you can't rely on him, you have to take meisers. Well, if he himself is an amoritz, he's not going to listen to the Rabbanan. He trusts the amoritz. He's in the same category as him, so that can't be the case. Elabamoritz to kamer lechaver elamai, you'll tell me that the owner is an amoritz. The recipient is a Talmud Chacham. And therefore, he gave permission to the Talmud Chacham to pick the figs. The Talmud Chacham has a suffix whether the owner took meisers or not, and therefore he has to take meisers demai. Yomi Masechet, if that's the case, the Sefer says, near in Divrei Abba, Rebbe says that what I said is more acceptable than what my father said. Why? Because mutav sheyachzu chaverim litram shaloi min hamukaf, v'al yachilu lamei haaretz tavalim. He says you can rely that certainly if the owner is a Talmud Chacham, that he certainly took meisers, because he certainly would not feed an haaretz tevel. So obviously we're talking where the recipient is an amoritz. So Amoritz, my boy, awesome. if you're telling me that the case is talking where the Amaretz gave permission to a Chaver, what is another Amaretz? What's he doing over there? You just told me that the case based on the Reisha is where the owner is an Amaretz, and he gave permission to a Talmud Chacham to pick from it. The Reisha is talking about an Amaretz who told a Chaver. So the owner is an Amaretz, he gave permission to the Talmud Chacham to pick. The Talmud Chacham is not sure whether the owner took the Maisers or not. Seifa b'chover shomer l'Amaretz, but the Seifa is talking where it's a Talmud Chacham who told an Amaretz v'chover acher shema. And there's another Talmud Chacham who overheard it. So therefore, it's a Chaver who's the owner. He gave permission to the Amaretz, and there's another Talmud Chacham who is there, and the question is that other Talmud Chacham, if he gets from some of that fruit, if the Amaretz gives him some of that fruit, if he gets from that fruit, can that Talmud Chacham eat a meal from it, or does he have to be mafresh maisers demai? So Rabbi holds, Rabbi Sovar, Oisu Chaver, Oichal Benesor Chlas. Rabbi holds that the Chaver, the Talmud Chacham who overheard this, he can eat from that. He doesn't have to take meiser because he can assume that the owner, who's a Talmud Chacham who gave permission to the Amaretz to eat from it, certainly would not release it from his possession without taking the meisers first. So therefore, he can, this one who overhears it, the Talmud Chacham who overhears it, he can eat it and eat it vadai without having to take any meisers, because he can rely that the owner took meisers from it. The vadai isur masra how chaver kam alavei. The owner, the first Talmud Chacham, certainly was mafresh the meisers. Rav Shimon Gamaliel Eimer, he says lo yoichlach also. He says no, the one that Talmud Chacham overhears it cannot eat a meal from it unless he takes meiser vadai from it, because because you can assume for certainty that the owner, the first Talmud Chacham, would not have taken the meisers from it, because it's also to be tyrant, to be mafresh the meiser shaloi min hamukaf on something that's not close to it in close proximity. Rebbe, my Rebbe said to him that mutav sheachdu chaverim litum shaloi min hamukaf al yachil amaretz tavalim. And Rebbe says, no, what I say is more mistaber, because rather to say, in one case, in one way or another, the Talmud Chacham is going to be violating something, but rather to say that he would violate the Isser to be mafresh shaloi min hamukaf, rather than to release from his possession something which was not mesukan, where the meisers were not taken, and therefore potentially cause a mikshol to the Amoretz and cause the Amoretz to be over an Isser. But Mike and Miflgi, what's the basis of the Machlek is Rebbe Savari holds Nichalel Chaver the Lavid who Isur Kalila Veloy Lavid Amaretz Isur Rabbit. Rebbe holds that one way or another the Talmud Chacham it would be doing an Isser here. But he holds, we would say that he would rather commit a minor Isser, relatively speaking, a minor Isser, which is to be termed Shalom Min Hamukaf, rather than have the Amoretz being over in Isser Rabba more chomerdik Isser. Now, even though this is a question of his Isser versus somebody else's Isser, Rebbe holds that Talmud Chacham would rather be over relatively speaking, a minor infraction, that's to be termed Shalom Min Hamukaf, rather than cause an Amoretz to be over a major Isser, an Isser that's more chomer, to be eating tevel. Rav Shimon Gamliel saw where he holds no nichalei lechaved the lavid Amaretz Isur Rabba v'yu afil Isur Kalil le'avid. He said if he has to make a choice over here, so presumably the Talmud Chacham forgot to take the meisers, or forgot that he we gave permission to the Amaretz to pick the figs which were not mu'usir. So he's in a predicament. Rav Shimon Gamliel holds he would rather have the Amoretz be over a more chomerdik Isser rather than he himself be over even a, relatively speaking, a more minor Isser. So that's the basis of the Machlekes, and the Isser being termed Shalom Min Hamukaf compared to Tevel, is considered a more minor Isser. It's considered an Isser Klila. So that's the Machlekes. The basis of the Machlekes is what a person the Talmud Chacham, rather that he himself is over a more minor Isser rather than have the Amaretz over a major Isser, or no, would we say he himself wouldn't want to be over an Isser, he'd rather the Amoretz be over even a more major Isser. Why is Shalom and Amukav considered an Isser Klila? So we understand that according to the Shitas of Rashi, that it's an Isser Klila, because Rashi holds that it's an Isser Derabonan, where there's Tevel, of course, is a Deraisa. So that's readily understandable. But according to the Shitas of Taisus, it's more difficult, because Taisus holds that the Isser Shalom and Amukav is also Deraisa. However, it's considered an Isser Klila because we do find, and Taisus points out, we do find that there are exceptions to this Isser Shalom and Amukav, where there are no exceptions to the Isser of Tevel, so therefore Shalom and Amukav is considered more minor, is considered Isser Klila. Zok the Mishnah, so we know that the Eruv, the person is kind of Shvisa. This is where his dwelling is concerned. It's considered rather, and he has alpayim amma, 2,000 ammas to walk from that place, from the place where his Eruv is, where he's kind of shvisa. He has to be in the same place as his Eruv. The Eruv has to be accessible to him on the onset of Shabbos. When Shabbos comes in, that Eruv has to be accessible to him. If he and his Eruv are considered to be in different domains, if you can't bring the Eruv to him, then he's not in the Malkam Shvisa of the Eruv, then it's not kind of Shvisa, he doesn't have a valid Eruv, and he can't walk, 2,000 ammas from that place. So if you put the Eruv in the Son of Bilim, put it on a tree, which is higher than 10 Tfachim from the ground, ain't Eruv, it's not a valid Eruv, because he can't take it from it and bring it to him. We'll see in the Gemara why, but he can't take it from it and bring it to him, so it's not a valid Eruv. But if it's below than 10 Tfachim, it is a kosher Eruv. If you put it in a bore in a pit, even 100 ammas deep, even though so far away, Eruv, it is a valid Eruv because it's accessible to him. He can access it, he can get to it, so it's a valid Eruv. So the Gemara is going to analyze this din in the Mishnah. Yosef Rabbi Chia bar Rav, Rabbi Asif, Rabbi bar Nos, Yosef Rav Nachman Gabai, Rav Nachman was sitting there, Yosef Koamer, and they were sitting and discussing this Mishnah. Hi Ilan Dekoy Heicha, where is this Ilan? He put the Eruv in the tree. Where is this Ilan? Ilan Dekoy Rishus Yochid. If the tree is in a Rishus Yochid, Mali Lamala, Mali Lamata. What difference does it make if the Eruv is 10 above the ground or not? Rishus Yochid goes straight up without limitations. There's no limitations. If the tree is in a private property, if it's in a Rishus Yochid, what difference does it make if he's on the ground and the Eruv is resting on the tree, even if it's way up and it's very far high? It's all Rishus Yochid. The issue over here in the Mishnah is the Eruv has to be accessible to him. In order to say that this is his Malkam Shvisa, he has to be able to bring it to where he is. Now, if it's not accessible to him, it's not an Eruv. If it's in a different Rishus, if the Eruv is in a Rishus Rabim and he's in a Rishus Yochid, it's not considered to be accessible to him. He can't bring it to him, so he's not kind of the Shvisa. He's not kind of the Shvisa of the Eruv. Now, if the tree is in Rishus Yochid, what difference does it make if it's far up high? It's all in Rishus Yochid, so it's accessible to him. He can bring it to him. There's no Isser on bringing it to him, l'chara. So why is it not an Eruv? Perhaps you'll say the tree is in Rishus Harabim. So the ground is a Rishus Harabim. Now, if he wanted his place in the Eruv to be on top of the tree, so what's the problem? If it's Lamala, they're both in the same place. They're both in the Rishus Harabim. He can bring the Eruv to him. It's accessible to him. He can get to it. We must say that he intended to have his Malkam Shvisa on the ground. Now the ground is a Rishus Harabim. the top of the tree, if it's above 10 and it's Dalet al Dalet, that height of the tree, a Mokam, which is 10 or more high, which is Dalet al in Rishus Harabim, that is Rishus Yachid. The Rishus Harabim only is Oila until 10. So therefore, if he wants to be Mishbois Lamata, he wants his Mokam Shvis, his place, his domain, to be on the ground, which is a Rishus Harabim. The Erev is on top of the tree, which is a Rishus Yachid. It's not accessible to him. He can't bring it to him, so it's not a Hu ve'eruv b'makim echad. Therefore, he's not kind of Shvisa. He cannot walk 2,000 amos from that place. Well, if he wants to make the Erev on the ground, and you're saying that if the Erev is below 10, it is a kosher Erev, why? Still you have a problem. He's using a tree. There's an Isser D'Rabbanan to use a tree. You're not allowed to climb up on a tree. The runner goes, you might cut off a branch. He's not allowed to use a tree. So even if the Erev is below 10, why is the Erev considered to be accessible to him? He can't climb the tree and get to it because there's an Isra Rabbanah, being Mishtamash Bilan. Rashi and Taisus asked the question, even without this, it's a problem, because even if it's below 10, it's not a Rishus HaYachid, but it's still a Carmelis. It's still also a Midrabanan to bring it from a Carmelis. So they say that the Gemara could have asked that question, but Lamaisa, we'll see, the Gemara's Teres, coming up shortly, will answer both of these questions. So I'll call upon him, if the Erev is below 10, how can he get to the Erev to him? It's also to climb the tree. So the Gemara answers, the case in the Mishnah is tying the trees in the Rishus Harabim. Lamata is intent, is that his Malkam Shvisa should be on the ground, which is Rishus Harabim. How can he get the Erev to him? He can't climb the tree. Anything that is an Isser Rabbanan, Bein Hashmashos, the Rabbanan were not geyser in the twilight period. So when is he kind of the Shvisa Bein Hashmashos? The Erev has to be accessible to him at that time. And it is accessible to him because the Isser climbing to the tree is the Rabbanan. So therefore, they were not geyser Bein Hashmashos. He could get the Erev and bring it to him at that point. So therefore, he's kind of Shvisa on the ground below. The Erev, it's in the tree below 10, it's a Carmelis, is also an Isser D'Rabbanan. They weren't geyser Bein Hashmashos. The Erev is accessible to him at that time, Bein Hashmashos, and that's the time where he's kind of the Shvisa, so it is accessible. The Erev is an Erev, and he can walk 2,000 amos from that place. He says that's the correct way of understanding the Mishnah. V'chein Amar Shmuel, that's the case we're talking about. The tree is in Rishus Harabim, and he's in Skam Lishbois Lamata, and it makes a difference if the Erev is above 10 or below 10. Amrulu, the Rabbanan who were with him, said to Rav Nachman, Pasrisa Bakuli, hi, you analyzed this Mishnah so thoroughly. So, frankly, what was her question? Nami hachika pasovei. That's how they analyze the Mishnah. Ella hachi amlo. What they said was kavisla b'gemara. The question was, is that the maskana? Did you establish it as a gemara that is the maskana sadvarim? Did you fix it into the gemara? Amrlu in, yes, that is the maskana, and that's how we accepted it, and that's the pshat. Itmar namli Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel Hacha b'Ilan or Imir Rishus Harabim Maskin Retayon Ilan. That's in Rishus Harabim Gevayasar V'Rochav Arba. It's 10 high and it has a width of Dalet al Dalet Tvachim, which means that the area above 10 Tvachim is Rishus Hayach V'Niskaven Lishbeis Lamata, and he wants his Malkam Shvisa to be on the ground. He wants it to be below. V'Rebbe Hido Amar, it's going according to Rebbe, says, Kol Dover Shumi Shum Shvuz, Lo Yigozr La Ben Hashmashos. They weren't geyser Ben Hashmashos. So therefore, if he's in Skaman Lishbes Lamala, that's Rishus Hayachid, Hu Ve'eruva, it's not B'Mokim Echad, it's not an Eruv. If he's Skaman Lishbes Lamata, then even though he is also for him Midorabanan to bring the Eruv to him, but that's at the Rabbanan, and we're going according to Rebbe, that's called Mishus Loigaz Rabbeinu Shmashas. Therefore, the Erev is accessible to him, and it's considered Huvei Ruva Mokim Echad. It's considered a valid Erev, and he has Alpay Mama to walk from this place.